Okay, as the title of the video suggests, is Drake part of the alt-right pipeline, and who the hell is Happy Dad? That is what we're going to be getting into in this video. For starters, we have been researching this video for roughly a few months now, probably since the start of November. What started as a Drake deep dive turned into this video. And I thought the best way to do this video is to just attack it with just the facts. Everything that we know about the Drake camp, his connection to Happy Dad, and the timeline of events that we have laid out using articles that are readily accessible on the internet. We are going to drop the links for those articles in the description below. You guys can check those at your own time and your own leisure. But I think the best way to do this is to just stick to the timeline and stick to the facts like we always do. And then towards the end of the video, I'm going to save some space for myself to kind of give you my own thoughts and opinions and views on what I'm presenting today. So in order to get into the whole Drake connection, and like I said, this video started as a deep dive on Drake. I don't think you guys want to hear for the millionth time that he was a middle-class suburban kid from suburbia of Toronto. I don't think you guys need to hear that. You know that. You know the backstory on him. Degrassi, childhood acting, all of that stuff. You know all of that. So that's why it was kind of interesting the way that this video kind of turned when we started digging deeper. So we're going to look into Happy Dad as well and Drake's connection with Happy Dad, because when you look at it, why is a hard seltzer company at the crossroads of where sports and entertainment, culture, hip hop, music, commentary, social commentary, and politics all meet? Why is there a hard seltzer company, or seemingly a hard seltzer company, trying to position themselves in the middle of all of it? That is the important question. I don't know if we're going to have answers to that question today, but we're going to try and answer as many questions as we can. But to understand Happy Dad and their relationship with Drake, you have to know the timeline of events. Again, all of the links to the articles will be dropped in the description below that we used for this video. Feel free to check that out at your guys' own time and pace. But to understand the Happy Dad thing and to understand their connection with Drake, you have to know the Nelk Bros from the Full Send podcast and the Shahidi brothers, specifically John Shahidi. When you think John Shahidi, you have to think, unfortunately, you have to think and associate him with the alt-right movement. You have to think MAGA Trump supporter, because that's exactly who he is. You guys can look at his Instagram. You guys can find him on Instagram. He is very loud and unabashed supporter of Donald Trump and all of the policies that Donald Trump has brought forward. He has multiple pictures with Kid Rock, J.D. Vance, a bunch of alt-righters. Like, that's who this guy is. So it is what it is, guys. Like, the owner of this company is a MAGA supporting guy. It just is what it is. But on July 1st of 2021, the Shahidis and the Nelk Bros launch Happy Dad. And the Shahidis, it should be noted that they had a bunch of ventures before the Happy Dad thing really took off. One of their main ventures was finding talent and supporting talent online. They were kind of like managers for social media talent. That failed. At one point, they were going to partner with Justin Bieber on a very early version of what is now TikTok. That also failed. So I bring that up to say they were resilient. John Shahidi was resilient in the fact that he kept going. They kept going until they found their niche. And their niche was partnering with these social media influencers, with these podcasters, with these streamers, and launching this hard seltzer business. So that's the John Shahidi and the Shahidi side of things. The Nelk Bros, you guys know Nelk Bros from YouTube, the Full Send podcast. They've been at it for a really long time, creating content on YouTube and on the internet. So that's their thing. They are the content creators, and that's the side of the business that they handle. Fast forward a couple of months to November 1st of 21, It's the first time that the Nelk Bros meet Drake. Even though they're both based in Toronto, they've both been doing their thing for a really long time. This is the first official meeting between the Full Send people and Drake. And just a couple months after that, Trump goes on the Nelk Brothers podcast for the first time. It's around this time. I need you guys to remember what is going on in Trump world at this point in time. Donald Trump's first regime and first go at it as president did not land with the American people. Towards the end of his regime, his polling numbers were dead last. He got beat by Biden in the election. There is all of the rape and sexual allegations coming out about him. You guys can look into that. E. Jean Carroll comes to mind, like just those types of things. Also, we had the January 6th riots down here in America, where literally a bunch of MAGA supporters stormed the Capitol, beat the hell out of cops, took it over. They were taking shits on Nancy Pelosi's desk. It was an utter mess. Oh, and also COVID was running rampant through the country. So Donald Trump is in a world of hurt after leaving office. And John Shahidi, the same John Shahidi who founded Happy Dad, is credited as one of the guys, along with Elon Musk, to help get Trump elected, or reelected, I should say, in the 2024 presidential election. So just remember that Trump's fix-it to everything going on in his life, all the 34 felony counts, everything going on in Trump's life, magically gets waved away if he is made president again in 2024. And John Shahidi enters Trump's life, and he tells him a very specific thing. He tells him, we are going to connect you. John Shahidi personally is going to connect him with all of these podcasters and all of these streamers, and they're going to get young people out to vote for Trump in 24. And it should be noted that John Shahidi did this for free. As we look at a Bloomberg article a little bit later, John Shahidi does all of this for free, knowing that Trump is a guy who takes care of people who do favors for him. So just to put all of that out there. It's at this same time that Drake partners with Stake for the first time. January, February, March 1st of 2022. 7 months later, in October of 2022, 1789 Capital is founded. And 1789 Capital, when you think of 1789 Capital, you need to think of one woman in particular, and that is Rebecca Mercer. And 1789 Capital, this is a direct screenshot from their website. They are funding the next chapter of American exceptionalism. That is what we call a dog whistle, just so you know. All of this imagery right here, a guy on horseback, the only thing that's really seemingly in color is the American flag, American exceptionalism. Those are dog whistles to the alt-right, just so you guys know. But 1789 Capital, you got to know Rebecca Mercer. Now, Rebecca Mercer in particular is the one person that got Donald Trump elected the first time. She was Donald Trump's biggest donor in his first campaign back in 2016. And Rebecca Mercer's father, Robert Mercer, is the grandfather of what we know as artificial intelligence. On top of all of that, Robert Mercer, Rebecca Mercer's father, was a founding member of the Heritage Society. The Heritage Society, if you're asking yourself, Anthony, what the hell is that? The Heritage Society are the people who wrote Project 2025. And all of those people who wrote and had a hand in writing Project 2025 are now in Trump's White House for his second regime. All of these people are running together. All of these people are connected. I can't not see that. So when you think Rebecca Mercer, think just billionaire, ultra right-wing Nepo baby who's attaching herself to Trump for power. Think about that. So that's 1789 Capital. We'll get back into 1789 Capital in a minute because there is a connection, and that connection scared the living hell out of me. But so 1789 Capital is founded in October of 2022. A few months later, Happy Dad starts sponsoring the Theo Vaughn Show. This is the time in the Happy Dad seltzer world where the Shahidis and the Nelks start sponsoring podcasts and streamers outside of their realm or outside of just the Full Send podcast. They had a relationship with academics. They still have a relationship with Aiden Ross. And now they are getting into sponsoring podcasts. And that should be important to note as we come back to that in just a second. But it's at the same time that Drake is seen at the UFC fight a couple of days later with the Nelk Bros, and DJ Academics posted this. I bring this video up because, as you can see, Drake is backstage kind of hanging out with the Nelk Bros, dapping up their cameraman. And the reason why that's important is because their cameraman was in some hot water. Their cameraman was accused of sexual assault and rape. And they were bringing, after they had let him go for that, they were bringing the cameraman back to the show. And what I saw in this video was Drake kind of dapping up the cameraman, and he goes, "Oh my God, I can't believe they're bringing you back. That's really cool." It's kind of Drake giving his seal of approval and stamp of approval for bringing the cameraman back. And what that does to an audience potentially is wipes it clean, kind of makes it okay for this cameraman who's been accused of some heinous things to come back to the show with as little blowback from the listening public as possible. So Drake is doing PR here for the Nelk Bros, just backstage at the UFC fight. A couple months later, 4 months later, now we're getting into Kendrick Lamar versus Drake territory. DJ Academics is accused of sexual assault on a live stream. And if you guys remember that live stream, he threatened to expose everybody. He said, if I'm going down, y'all are coming down with me. I'm not going to be the only person to go down for this. So that should be noted. And then the very next day, and I don't know if Academics filmed this ahead of time. We don't really know about the timing, but the very next day, Full Send actually releases an entire podcast with DJ Academics. You guys can see the Happy Dad stuff right behind him. But it is an entire 2-hour podcast talking about the Drake versus Kendrick stuff, where Academics is going hard for Drake. It's like addressing the pedophile allegations, addressing, lying over Drake having another illegitimate child out there, everything. Like, they do 2 hours together, and it's Academics seemingly doing PR and damage control for Drake, right? Like, you guys can go look at the podcast. I listened to it. That's exactly what it sounded like to me. So Academics goes on Full Send and does the podcast with the Nelk Bros. A few months later, Trump, now we are into, so it should be noted that this is the time period where now we are into Trump ramping up his re-election campaign for the 2024 election cycle. We are at the part in the timeline where the Democrats put a knife in Joe Biden's back because no one, including myself, didn't want to see Trump versus Biden 2. They seemingly removed Joe Biden as the Democratic nominee, and they instill Kamala Harris. Remember, it's all of these things happen back to back to back to back. And Trump does that horrible. He does 2 debates, right? He debates Biden. Everybody's like, holy crap, the Democrats cannot run Biden again. Trump will win. So what do? They instill Kamala. Kamala debates Trump. And Trump is, remember, like Trump's at Trump is at the debate, and he's going, they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs. Like, he just sounds insane, right? His numbers are tanking. He picked JD Vance as his running mate, and that sent his poll numbers even lower because nobody wanted JD Vance to run with him. It was a shit show in the Trump camp. And that's when John Shahidi starts working his magic. And the first person that he calls on is Aiden Ross. And Aiden Ross goes on Trump's stream. And Aiden Ross's live stream with Donald Trump peaked at 500,000 viewers. It's seen down here with Aiden Ross is wearing like a MAGA hat with like a red tie. He gifts Donald Trump a Tesla with the attempted Trump assassination photo where he's doing the fist in the air, even if that really did happen. He's doing the fist in the air, and he had that superimposed on the Tesla, and he also gifted Trump a Rolex. Why are you gifting a billionaire or a supposed billionaire all these things? I don't know, but Aiden Ross has Donald Trump on his stream for the first time. It's also should be noted that this is not the first time that Aiden Ross platforms, it wouldn't be the last time that Aiden Ross platforms alt-right people on his stream. He has Nick Fuentes on his stream at one point. Like, Aiden Ross is a part of this pipeline, guys. Like, it just is what it is. So when you see the stuff with Doechii, I can't help but think like, yeah, he's talking about her that way because that's the people who he's surrounding himself with. That's how they talk about these women. That's how they talk about these artists. You know, and it makes me think of this clip from Scott Galloway. Like, I saw that there was a bunch of people like shocked that people were supporting Aiden Ross. Like, take a look at this clip.
45% of men 18 to 25 have never approached a woman in person?
Never asked a woman out in person. And what they're up against, think about it, our economy literally rests on 10 companies now, often referred to as the magnificent.
They haven't even talked to a woman, guys. That's his audience. 18 to 25. 40, what was it? 49%?
45% of men 18 to 25 have never.
They haven't even approached a woman in public to talk to them, to even ask them for their number. That's who Aiden Ross is talking to. So just remember that as we move forward in the timeline. So Trump is on Aiden Ross's stream. He gifts Donald Trump a Tesla and a Rolex. Literally a few days later, 15 days later, Trump goes on the Theo Von podcast. And it's at this time that Trump starts doing the podcast circuits even harder. He does Theo Von. He ends up doing Andrew Schultz, and Andrew Schultz endorses him. Theo Von endorses him. Joe Rogan, he goes on Joe Rogan in late October, just before the election, and Joe Rogan endorses him. And that's when Donald Trump wins the election. He wins it just a couple of days later. And that's when all of these articles start coming out about, like, did podcasters make Trump president? Because John Shahidi is the guy who connected Trump to the manosphere. It is what it is. This is an article from Bloomberg. Again, the descriptions are below. The guy who connected Donald Trump to the manosphere, John Shahidi, is a big part of why young men turned out to vote for Trump. There's John Shahidi in the Happy Dad hat with all of these people. Look at these people. It's RFK. It's Mike Johnson. It's Elon. It's Kid Rock. It's Don Jr. It's Trump. John Shahidi is the guy who helped get Trump elected more than Elon Musk, more than any of them. And he did it for free because, quote, he knows that Trump takes care of people who help take care of Trump. That's the guy who owns Happy Dad. As we move forward, Trump wins the election. And you would think at this point in the timeline, the smart thing to do, or the thing that that the Trumps are going to do, is the same thing that they did before back in 2016, right? Where Ivanka's in the White House with Trump in his cabinet somewhere in his White House. Jared Kushner was in Trump's White House, Ivanka's husband. Don Jr., Eric, all of them, all of the Trump family was in the Trump White House. But Don Jr. does something different. Don Jr., 2 weeks after Trump secures his election victory, joins 1789 Capital, the same 1789 Capital that was founded by billionaire Nepo baby Rebecca Mercer. And they go from managing anywhere between $75 and $150 million in assets to now over $1 billion in assets less than 24 months later. That is an insane spike. That is an insane spike in what you're controlling. It's insane. That's insane growth. So Don Jr. opts out of the White House to join 1789 Capital. And within a couple of months, he's also investing in Elon Musk's companies. There is also, he gets a $620 million Pentagon loan now that Daddy's president. There's a lot of shady things going on around this time with 1789 Capital and Don Jr. But as we continue through the timeline, you'll see that just a month later, Aiden Ross and Drake finally do their collaboration together with Stakes. A month later after that, Academics is hit with grooming allegations, and he is instantly dropped from Happy Dad and Twitch. He's kicked off of Twitch, and his relationship with Happy Dad is no more. Even though he's still riding for Drake a lot, Happy Dad is no longer sponsoring DJ Academics. And it should be noted that 4 days after this is when the inauguration happens. It's like the 25th of 2025 is when Trump assumes office. And less than 2 months later, 1789 Capital, The same 1789 capital that's linked up with Rebecca Mercer and the Heritage Foundation, and the same 1789 capital that Don Jr. is now a part of and a partner of. 1789 capital invests an undisclosed amount of money into Happy Dad. Less than 2 months after Trump assumes office. It's wild, guys. It's absolutely wild. And that's where, a couple months later, we get the Bloomberg article. I showed you guys that already, of John Shahidi being the guy who connected Donald Trump to the manosphere. He is the guy. A guy whose business is to sell hard seltzers is looking like he's selling political favors. So we get the Bloomberg article on April 21st of 2025. And this is kind of where we get into like the Drake side of things, because what prompted us to start making this video is we were seeing a bunch of propaganda coming from these huge conglomerates, right? Like middle of the summer, after we're having a generational run from Kendrick Lamar with GNX, hip hop was in a really good space. Like you had Chance bringing some heat. You had Jid bringing some heat. You had Clips with an incredible album. Like hip hop was good. Hip hop was in a really good space. I know it because I was viewing the commentary. I was watching these channels who talk about hip hop exclusively saying, we're in a really good place. Like, we're fine. Hip hop is in a good spot. And then all of a sudden you get Billboard with this article talking about how the boy is back. Why a summer of Drake might be what hip hop needs. No one was saying that. No one was saying that. And this is at the same time where he's attempting to roll out Iceman. He's trying to do the album release with all these cryptic videos and live streams, and it's not hitting. No, everybody's like, nah, this ain't it. Like, I'm watching you guys react. No one is saying that a summer of Drake might be what hip hop needs, but Billboard is. Billboard is the one saying it. And it's insane, because it's like, are you just not paying attention, or are you just pushing propaganda onto people? So that was a red flag for us. But it should be noted, a couple weeks later, Drake is seen out and about, and he gifts a watch to the Nelk Bros, one of the Nelk Bros, Kyle Forgard, on his birthday. It was a $150,000 Rolex. Just out and about. Just a happy birthday gift from Champagne Poppy. But yeah, Drake gives Kyle Forgard a $150,000 Rolex. A month later, and this is again, another red flag for me. A month later, nearly a year to the day of, getting past the election cycle, nearly a year, Happy Dad becomes Joe Rogan's first hard seltzer partner, and they're an official partner of the Joe Rogan Experience. I'll get into why I think that that's important to note in here in a second. So moving forward on the timeline, next up we get a couple months later. That's when all the lawsuits start coming out about Drake and his partnership with Stake. So the first Stake lawsuit is filed, alleging illegal gambling practices. Less than a couple of days later, you get the Spotify suit, where Spotify is accused of ignoring billions of fraudulent Drake streams, because he was saying, hey, Kendrick's spotting his streams, and it ended up coming around to bite him in the ass, because now people were looking at Drake sideways, right? 2 days later, Drake gifts Aiden Ross a $330,000 Maybach. Why? I don't know, because that's a little weird, and I'll get into why I think it's a little weird in a second, under the opinions portion of this video. And just a couple months later, or a couple days later after that, Billboard is going to be giving more weight to streams, despite this lawsuit being out there that Spotify is accused of faking billions of Drake streams. So why are the Billboard charts going to add more weight to on-demand streaming when clearly there is a problem with the on-demand streaming element of weighing a song's success? Why are we doing that? Wouldn't you stop and take a second and be like, hey, maybe we got to look into this for a second? Billions of fake streams equals a lot of money for Drake. And if other artists are botting their stuff, why are we going to add more weight to botted streams? It doesn't make any sense. So Billboard comes out with that article. And then, as everybody knows, and it's discussed by now, Drake is accused of basically using, stake as one giant unregulated piggy bank. He got hit with a civil RICO charge, and that should be noted because alleging RICO predicates is different than the feds actually hitting you with a RICO charge. And we'll see what happens with this story as that plays out. But that is the Nelk, Shahidi, Drake timeline in a nutshell. Again, all of the links to all of the articles that we used for this video are in the description below. Now I want to get into my own thoughts and opinions on this because, again, I'm just laying out the timeline of events. I wanted to stick to the timeline. I wanted to stick to the facts of the story and really stick to what I've been working on. My own thoughts and opinions on this are a little different. I can't help but notice several alarming things. The first being 1789 Capitol. John Shahidi in general. John Shahidi in general is kind of sketchy to me. How in the hell are you selling a hard seltzer company, but like your hard seltzer company is at the heart of fascism in America or pushing fascism onto people in America? That's not cool. That's not cool. Like, you are platforming a pedophile. You are platforming and trying to help get elected a homicidal, warmongering child predator for president of the United States. Shame on you. Shame on you. The Nelk Bros having Benjamin Netanyahu, and that's the one thing that is missing from this timeline. The Nelk Bros had Benjamin Netanyahu on their podcast July 21st of 2025 when Netanyahu is committing war crimes and genocide in Gaza. And they're doing layup questions with Benjamin Netanyahu about everything. And the stock response from these podcasters like the Nelk Bros and like Andrew Schultz and like Theo Vaughn and like Joe Rogan has been, well, I didn't know Trump was going to do all this. I had no idea. This is not what I voted for, guys. I didn't think Trump was going to do this. Bullshit. You do. You took the money. Theo Vaughn took a Happy Dad bag. Joe Rogan took a Happy Dad bag. What it looks like is the alt-right was paying you to platform the dude that they wanted to be president. And you did the content. You did the cupcake content. You gave your seal of approval to vote for this guy. Aiden Ross was on one of his streams. I remember seeing it. He was like dumbfounded that the stock market was tanking and he lost a bunch of money in the stock market. He's like, I didn't vote for this. I didn't vote for this. Yes, you did. You got a Happy Dad bag. You had him on your thing. You gifted the guy a Rolex and a Tesla. Yeah, you voted for it. You voted for him. You voted for a pedophile. Guys, like, that's what it is. And then then I see a connection with the 1789 Capitol. And how Don Jr. doesn't join Daddy in the White House. Doesn't do any of that. Doesn't get into, like, the political spectrum. But instead goes venture capital and starts investing in this hard seltzer company. Why? Why is a company that literally says that they're funding the next chapter of American exceptionalism, sponsoring funding a hard seltzer company? It's hard seltzer. These are supposed to be the alpha bros. These are supposed to be like no beta males over here. Funding the next chapter of American exceptionalism. You're in bed with two Canadians. Like, guys, like, come on, like, this is what this looks like to me. So you got the 1789 Capitol element of it. You got the Shahidi element of it. You got these podcasters taking this Happy Dad money. And then I look at the Happy Dad stuff. You know, I look at the Happy Dad, who they're associated with. You got to look into these things. You got to know. One of them did a hit piece about my theory. Not a hit piece on critiquing music and critiquing the lyrics, but actually did a hit piece on me and my character and the content I make online. That's this camp. That's this. They're in bed together. So it's just red flag after red flag after red flag. And it looks like what it looks like. It looks like, again, my own thoughts and opinions on this, just to be fair. Keep it alleged over here. But it looks like to me that this hard seltzer company could give a fuck less about selling hard seltzers. And what they do is they do PR and crisis management and content for really shitty people. And they sponsor people that are big in our country, like Theo Vaughn, like Joe Rogan, and trying to get a sponsorship with Andrew Schultz, guys with reach. They're in their pockets to make sure that their guy gets elected. And then you see everything that we're seeing. You get, again, Heritage Foundation, Rebecca Mercer. Those are the people who wrote Project 2025. Project 2025 is the thing that's stripping our rights away as Americans. They want us to send us back to the Stone Age. They want to make sure women can't have reproductive health access. They want to make sure that brown people, scary Latinos, and black people are off the fucking streets and in concentration camps. And if you're telling me, Anthony, you're being a little hyperbolic or you're getting a little conspiratorial. No, I'm not. They just shot a woman. Broad daylight. ICE just shot someone on the streets in Minneapolis. It's the same shit I've been saying for years, guys. The same shit I've been saying. It's weird. And why is Drake in this camp? Why are you surrounding yourself with these people? Why are these people making hit pieces and hit content about my shit? You are who you roll with. You are a product of your environment. If you're rolling with pedophiles, you're probably something similar. I'm just sick and tired of being disingenuous. And then I see I see what's going on with the Aiden Ross conversation. I see the Aiden Ross versus Doechii stuff. Shout out to Glasses Malone for standing on business. But look at who Aiden's connected with. That's who these people are. They're not like us. That's what is happening. In my opinion, my own thoughts. I see this sketchy ass hard seltzer company caring more about doing PR for pedophiles than actually hawking and selling hard seltzers. So I don't know. It's scary times that we're living in, guys. It really is. It's scary. It's scary. You know, people are getting shot. People are getting killed. This administration says that they're going to start going door to door. This administration seemingly won't release the Epstein files. You know, there's like 125,000 pages worth of Epstein documents. They've only released maybe 1 or 2% of them. Or 10% of them. They've only released like 10,000 pages out of the 125,000. It very clearly looks like the sitting president of the United States is a pedophile. You know, I've seen some of the critiques of you guys saying, like, I get a bit conspiratorial, but guys, like, we're living through a conspiracy. We're living through it. And when I see this timeline and I read these articles and I see these people around Trump, doing PR for Trump, endorsing Trump, especially Rogan. That's weird. Rogan is a hardcore liberal. This guy has a DMT documentary, for Christ's sakes. He doesn't take the money right away, but just a year or so later, after the dust settles, after all the shit comes out, he takes the Happy Dad sponsorship. It's weird. And you are the company you keep. Straight up. Okay, so really quick before I get out of here, omissions from the video, things that I forgot to bring up. The Netanyahu stuff, I mentioned that, that wasn't on the timeline. What also isn't on the timeline is that Charlie Kirk was also a founding member or a founding investor in 1789 Capital, which means that his wife now probably controls his founding share of 1789 Capital. So that should be noted. Also, in the video, as I was going through the editing process of everything, I say I a lot, like, oh, my research. It really is a we thing, mostly Desiree. And there's times where I just, like, turn on the camera and I just get to ripping and I just, forget where I'm at and forget myself for a second. But really, I do have to say thank you to Des. Like, she literally she built the timeline. She's the one helping me find the articles, literally, like, going through line by line. We've literally tried to record this video 3 or 4 times, each time she's watching it, just going, I don't think it's there yet. So whatever you guys get from me is also what you're getting from her. Like, I wouldn't be able to do this without her. So, shout out to my fiance, my lovely fiance, Desiree Rose, for all of her contributions on this project as well. I think that's a good place to stop. I got one more thing for you guys before I go. Or actually 2 more things before I go. Big update in the poetic justice theory breakdowns of everything through one way or another. I'm not going to reveal a source unless they want to be revealed. But we can confirm that there is no NDA on all of TDE. We can confirm that. So there's no NDA involved. So these guys are allowed to speak freely about it. These guys are allowed to talk about it, which tells me that something big is coming, like a big reveal or something like that is coming. Well, obviously we're not done. We're not done with this story by a long shot, especially when it comes to poetic justice. Kendrick is gearing up to drop again. Will we ever get Iceman? I don't know, but I can guarantee you if Drake is trying to do this whole rap thing, Kendrick isn't going to just let this dude rap. I like Drake with the melodies. I don't like Drake when he acts tough. If he's got them tough bars coming on this Iceman project, you can bet that Kendrick's probably going to try and kick him out of rap again. So, again, my thoughts and opinions on that. But yes, we can confirm that there is no NDA out on TDE. I don't know how high up that goes. I just know that it's not all of them. So, like, Absol's allowed to speak on it. Schoolboy Q's allowed to speak on it. Like, Mixed by Ali, as we saw, have spoken on it. They're allowed to talk freely. But like Ali said, he's not privy to everything that Kendrick does creatively. So, again, the door is still open with that. Any more updates I get on the poetic justice theory, I'll be sure to drop a video in here. And with that, I got one last thing for you guys.
This is Logic. I've spoken these words before, but not on the radio. To be born free is to be born in debt. To live in freedom without fighting slavery is to profiteer. I have met Southerners who expect and fear a Negro insurrection. I see no purpose in withholding this from general discussion. There may be those within that outcast 10% of the American people who someday will strike back at their oppressors. But to put down that mob, a mob would rise. I'd like to ask, please, who will put down that mob? I'm an overpaid producer with pleasant reasons to rejoice, and I do, in the wholesome practicability of the profit system. But surely my right to having more than enough is cancelled if I don't use that more to help those who have less. I owe the very profit I make to the people I make it from. If this is radicalism, it comes automatically to most of us in show business as being generally agreed that any public man owes his position to the public. That's what I mean when I say I'm your obedient servant. We must each day earn what we own. A healthy man owes to the sick all that he can do for them. An educated man owes to the ignorant all that he can do for them. A free man owes to the world's slaves all that he can do for them. And what is to be done is more, much more than good works, Christmas baskets, bonuses and tips, and bread and circuses. There is only one thing to be done with slaves. Free them. If we can't die in behalf of progress, we can live for it. Progress, we Americans take to mean a fuller realization of democracy. The measure of progress, as we understand it, is the measure of equality enjoyed by all men. We can do something about that. The way our fighting brothers and sisters looked at it, some of them dead as I speak these words, the way they looked at it, we're lucky. And they're right, we're lucky to be alive, but only if our lives make life itself worth dying for. We must be worthy of our luck or we are damned. Our lives were spared, but this is merely the silliest of accidents, unless we put the gift of life to the hard employments of justice. If we waste that gift, we won't have anywhere to hide from the indignation of history. I want to say this. The morality of the auction block is out of date. There is no room in the American century for Jim Crow. Tomorrow's democracy discriminates against discrimination. Its charter won't include the freedom to end freedom. Race hate isn't human nature. Race hate is the abandonment of human nature. But this is true. There are alibis for the phenomena, excuses, economic and social, but the brutal fact is simply this. Where the racist lie is acceptable, there is corruption. The race haters must be stopped. The lynchings must be stopped. The murders must be avenged. I come in that boy's name and in the name of all who in this land of ours have no voice of their own. I come with a call for action. This is the time for it. I call for action against the cause of riot. It won't surprise me if I'm accused in some quarters of inciting to riot. Well, I'm very interested in riots. I'm very interested in avoiding them. And so I call for action against the cause of riots. Law is the best action, the most decisive. It's in the people's power to see to it that what makes lynchings and starts wars is dealt with, not by well-wishers, but by policemen. And I mean good policemen. Oh, for several generations, maybe there'll be men who can't be weaned away from the fascist vices of race hate. But we should deny such men responsibility in public affairs exactly as we deny responsibility to the wretched victims of the drug habit. There are laws against peddling dope. There can be laws against peddling race hate. But every man has a right to his own opinion as an American boast. But race hate is not an opinion, it's a phobia. It isn't a viewpoint. Race hate is a disease. In a people's world, the incurable racist has no rights. He must be deprived of influence in a people's government. He must be segregated, as he himself would segregate the colored and Semitic peoples. Anything very big is very simple. If there's a big race question, there's a big answer to it, and the big answer is simple, like the word no. America can write her name across this century, and so she will if we, the people, brown and black and red, rise now to the great occasion of our brotherhood. It will take courage. It calls for the doing of great deeds, which means the dreaming of great dreams. Giving the world back to its inhabitants is too big a job for the merely practical. No one of us will live to see a blameless peace. We strive and pray and die for what will be here when we're gone. Our children's children are the ancestors of a free people. To the generations, the fight is worth it. That just about means that my time is up. When my time's up, I remain as always, obediently yours.